All right, everybody. I am so excited to be joined by Francesca Witzburg, who has been instrumental in helping our business make sure that everything that we have is our ducks in a row, if you will say. And she's here joining me on the podcast today, talking about quite a few very important legal foundations that you really need to have and know for your business. And so, Francesca, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and who you serve and really how you got to where you are right now professionally.
Thank you so much, April. I'm super excited to be here. My name is Francesca Witzburg. I go by the Trademark Attorney on Instagram, and I'm an IP lawyer. We're going to talk about what IP is, but basically, I help creators, businesses, anyone who has created something using their intellectual creativity, and especially people who are trying to monetize that, I help. And so, whether it's trademarks or copyrights, helping businesses get started to monetize and protect what they've created is what I do. And I service really a variety of industries. I have fashion experience, jewelry brands, online businesses in particular, and navigating how to protect content and all of the assets that you've created online. That's really been my niche for the past year or two. And, I got started by going to law school. I had no idea what intellectual property was, like most people. And I thought it was so amazing how you could actually, what you create are your real assets. These are real things that you can transfer, you can protect, you can sell. So I really fell in love with that, and also helping businesses get off the ground. I feel like I'm able to kind of give back, really help people launch. And so I got into it. I worked at a small IP boutique. I also had experience working in the legal departments at Prada and Tory Burch and a international jewelry brand. From there, I really got the bug, and I just wanted to learn everything and anything about intellectual property in whatever industry. And then I worked at the world's biggest law firm called Dentons. I worked in Manhattan in Rock Center for a little bit over 3 years. And then I made a big change. Becoming a partner at an IP boutique firm, meaning we only do intellectual property from start to finish. My firm is located in LA, but I'm based in New York and New Jersey. I can service clients everywhere. And since September, I've just been really hitting the ground running, helping a lot of online businesses, connecting on Clubhouse, meeting people like you, April. And so I'm super excited to share my knowledge with everyone today.
I'm so excited that you're here. And what you do, this super hyper niche area of serving online businesses. I mean, you help our listeners protect their ideas and protect their services and their programs and their courses and their actual digital products, which is absolutely right on. And I know that there's so many people in this business space that are creating content, that are creating different assets and what we call IP, that have no idea even the first step on how to protect that. So let's go ahead and start there. What actually is IP? What is intellectual property?
Sure. So intellectual property refers to creations of the mind. They are inventions, designs, creative works, brands, slogans. They're anything that you've created kind of creatively. And so the law is divided up into certain categories. And I like to call it, you have your IP toolbox. So there's certain tools that you can use to protect whatever it is that you've created or your business. So there's, patents, which protects inventions. Sometimes it protects certain ways of doing things, processes, and it also sometimes protects designs if it meets certain thresholds. Then there's trade secrets, which kind of works in tandem with patents. If you're not eligible for a patent, you may be able to protect confidential and secret information that is proprietary to your business, so long as you've kept it private and you haven't publicly disclosed it. Then what we're really going to focus on today is the trademarks and copyrights. Trademarks are your brands. They are the symbols and the names that you have created to tell people that this is my business. I, April Beach, am the owner of your signature offer. I have created this course, and that is my protectable content. The function of trademarks are to point to the source. And then there's copyright. Copyright is the creative regime. It really extends to creative works such as content, photos, certain text if it's eligible, videos, the website layout. So, just by saying that alone, there's so many different tools that you can use to protect an online business. And so we can talk about that.
Wow. Okay. So, and this is exactly why. I mean, just in that definition that you just gave, you talked about 4 really important areas that our listeners can and should be possibly, if they qualify, protecting what they have created and what they plan to create. And I really want to dive specifically into trademarks today. And we're going to have Francesca back on the show, everybody. Don't worry. And we're going to be diving into other things as well. But I think this is really the most important place to start out. Just in your signature offer masterclass, we were having this kind of behind the scenes conversation about this. And even those students of mine that have been in business for, over a decade are just almost like in this panic mode when this conversation came up, because they realized they might not have done things correctly. And so that's why I'm really excited to dive into trademarking today. So first of all, I understand that there are 2 types of different trademarks that you can protect. Is it like a design mark and a word mark? Can you explain what those 2 different types of marks are to our listeners?
Yeah, so I get asked all the time. I have a brand name and I have a logo. Which one should I file for? What's protectable? And the short answer is that the word mark itself, if you file an application with the government just for the word in standard characters, that will automatically protect the name in any stylization. So if you go to rebrand and you change your logo, if you have a word mark registration, that'll extend to any stylizations, colors, whatever formats. So we do searches for the word, and if that's available, I usually say go for the word mark to protect. But you're right that sometimes clients will have, let's say it's not just a script, right? Let's say that they came up with a unique character or some sort of interesting artwork that they have in a circle next to the word. A good example of this is Target, right? Target has the word Target in red, and then you'll see the bullseye above. That bullseye they use as a trademark. So they could file for the word mark Target without a stylization and be protected. They can also file just for the bullseye, which is the design element, and that will be protected. Or they can file for a lockup version, which includes the word and the design. So there are a variety of ways, and it really is case by case specific, but more importantly, it's about budget. And I always tell clients, start with your core name for your core goods and services, because it can get very expensive. And also, as a point of strategy, it may not be worth filing for every single variation of the mark. Just start with your core name and your core goods or services.
Okay. And who needs to file trademark protection? Let's kind of really cover some basics. Like, who needs this?
What's funny is that I would say if you were to ask me this question 10, 15 years ago, the answer would be different. It used to be Fortune 500 companies had trademark lawyers, and they were the ones, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, big brands were the ones registering trademarks. That has completely shifted with online businesses. And I think we need to take a step back and explain an important concept, April, that you and I have discussed. So in the United States, trademark rights are based on use. So I'm sure all of you have, at one point or another, someone has said to you, oh, you don't need a trademark right now. You don't need to file the trademark. You have rights just based on use. Just continue to use. Right. The problem with that is, like I said, 15, 20, 30 years ago, that wasn't really an issue, because you were a store in one particular market in one city, right? Or you're a restaurant, or you were consulting in one area online, not online, in person. So it didn't matter really if someone was using the same name, if you're in New Jersey and someone's using it in LA necessarily. So the law as it states is if you have common law rights, your rights are limited to where you're actually using and who you're servicing. With online businesses, that has caused, to be blunt, chaos, because how do you prove where you're servicing clients by being on Instagram, online, having a website that can technically target and market not only all 50 states, but even outside the US. So the way that you get around those issues is by filing the application with the government. Having a registration gives you a presumption of rights in all 50 states. So that way, if someone is using your name, all you have to do is send them that piece of paper, that certificate of registration, and show them that you're the owner, and they should, in theory, back off.
Got it. Okay. Now, so many questions that, and
Yeah.
I'm obviously, I'm bringing questions from clients that I know have been asking as well. So let's kind of start back at the beginning. If there's somebody who's listening to this and they have a program that they've named, let's say it's Best Business 123 or whatever, that they have been using for a long period of time. What are their first steps as of now versus somebody who's coming up with a new name? Let's start with the established people that are saying, hey, listen, my company name isn't registered, my program or my course name or my mastermind name isn't registered. What should those people that already have an existing piece of work that they own do at this point in time?
Yeah, and I think it comes back again to budgeting and understanding that a little bit of money can go a long way if you're strategic about it. What I like to do differently, I think, than most lawyers is I don't let clients come to me and say, "Oh, Francesca, I want to file for this." I say, let's take a step back. We can definitely file, but did you protect your brand name, your core name? I have clients that come and say, "Oh, this slogan I want to protect. It's brand new and it's new. No one's using it." So what I do is I do an IP audit for a lot of clients. Where when they come to me, I say, "Let's just take a step back. Let's look at all of your websites, all of your courses, and let's figure out what's the most important." Instead of you deciding or someone telling you which trademark to file, let's think strategically and say, what are your most core names, your core content in connection with your core services? Because it gets very expensive very quickly. So I would tell people who are using and they haven't had anything registered to really touch base. I'm happy to do this to discuss and do the IP audit, but you can also do it yourself and just think like, what are the core names that I'm using and for what particular services, and then get those on file. Yes, maybe you came up with like a super cool name slogan that you're using, but are you really going to be using that in 6 months to a year? Versus, I would say the name that you're operating under, that may be the first starting point. So I would say, either check in with an IP attorney who can do that review for you, or think about it and then get those on file.
Okay, and let's make sure that you guys don't have to wait until the end of this. If you want to connect with Francesca for that IP audit, find her on Instagram at the Trademark Attorney. And she actually has a link in her bio on Instagram. You can just schedule a call with her. So we're making it really easy for you. It's the Trademark Attorney on Instagram. And plus she has amazing videos and things on there that you guys will love. And you can schedule a call to set up that IP audit. Okay, so for those people that are listening and they're new in business and they're just they're thinking, wow, I really want to name my company this. What are their first steps? Let's actually talk about how to search the USPTO. What is that process? And is that actually even enough?
Yeah. So the first thing is to come up with a name. If you're just getting started, I would say come up with names that try to not be so descriptive, because as business owners and content creators, we we want to express to our viewers what exactly it is that we're offering. But unfortunately, that falls on the lower end of protection on the trademark scale. The really strong trademarks are the ones that are either made up, terms like Google, or terms that have nothing to do with the product that you're selling, like Apple computers. Then there's this sweet spot that a lot of marketing people like April, you do this really well. You will find names that kind of hint at what you're doing, but don't literally describe, like your signature offer. So those are the sweet spot. They're called suggestive marks. And but anything like weaker than that is a little bit more descriptive, and they're you can still get them as trademarks. They're just a lot harder to protect and enforce, meaning other people may be able to use them. So then when you go to create a brand that you're about to invest a lot of money in, you need to think about these things. So the more made up, the less related to the actual things that you offer, the stronger and the better.
Got it. Okay. So for those people that are like, okay, this is the word, this is what I want to do. How do they go search and see if somebody already has that trademark registered?
Yeah. So let's say you came up with an awesome name. The first thing to do is go check on the uspto.gov. That is the government website. The government has a database of registered and pending trademarks. You can plug in the mark, but unfortunately, it's not very user friendly. And for example, if you put in the mark, it really may only give you either the exact spelling, maybe with a space, but it really is very limited. It's going to look for the exact mark. So if you did work with a trademark lawyer, like for example, I have special software where I plug in the mark, I plug in the goods and services, and then it does with its AI software, it'll pull up marks that are phonetically similar. Maybe they have a translation in a foreign language, and all of those can be potential issues that you're not going to find yourself. However, for your due diligence, the first thing to do is for you to check on uspto.gov, because maybe there is a dead hit and you'll find that there. The next thing to do, though, it's not enough just to look on USPTO, because there could be people who are using the mark that may not have a registration. And as I mentioned before, trademark rights are based on use. So it's really important to see who's using and who can raise a potential objection to you. Check Google, check Instagram, check all those platforms. And then if it looks good, that's when you go and you work with a trademark attorney.
Okay, great. So you do your due diligence, it's uspto.gov, not .com. It's .gov. Do that check and then Google the heck out of it as well. And I think that is so important. I know that, some people go, they'll just search it and they'll be like, oh, great, it's available because it's not popping up. And that is absolutely nowhere near enough. And then I can speak for experience, you guys who are listening, that I've had Francesca put our trademark names in her AI system and crazy things that there's no way I ever could have found pop up. So it is definitely an important investment to make if you are in the process of growing your company and you have IP that you want to protect. And so I think that's really an important thing. So any other last words today when we're talking about trademarking moving forward, or any other things that our listeners need to know that are often missed, maybe common questions? Basically, what am I not asking that I should be asking you?
Yeah, I would say a lot of people who, number one, we're in the middle of a pandemic and a financial downturn. So you're going to have a lot of people who may not want or may not have the means to file trademarks. So I will tell you, there's things you can do to try and protect your name even without a registration. Start using those TM symbols. And you may not know what that is. So a TM symbol, now that I've mentioned it, you're going to see them everywhere. It means that people are claiming rights to a name or a design as a trademark. And they're saying, I've created this. And when people look at it, it points to me. It means that's my website, it's my services, whatever it is. So if you came up with a slogan, or if you have your brand name that isn't yet registered, put the little TM in the upper right-hand corner. And what that does is that puts third parties on notice. So if you have another person who did the Google search, went on and found your website, they're going to see immediately, oh, this person is claiming trademark rights. I better back off. So that's an extra element that you can do. It's not as strong as a registration, clearly, because your rights are only limited to where you're using until you get it on file, but at least it's something. And I would say, think about budgeting for that registration for some of your core names. I know it may sound expensive, and I think it's worth quoting. You're going to get people who are going to do this cheaper, and you're going to find people who are going to do it more expensive. But my firm has a fixed fee package with a trademark search and the government fee in the filing, and it's $12.50. Yeah. And that,
that's a deal.
It's a deal. And I'm just thinking, like, the cost to respond to a demand letter or to send a demand letter is that amount. So to get that on file and to kind of not have to worry, think about maybe budgeting that as part of your business process.
Yeah. And I will say it's been about 12 years, we filed a registration for a program that we were licensing to healthcare. And this was 12 years ago. And I think I paid well over $2,500 for somebody to just file that registration for me. So this is 12 years later. Francesca's team, this is a deal, you guys. It's like the deal of a lifetime, and it protects you and it really covers you. So we love that. So all of you who are listening, if you're in this place, whether you're new and you are just coming up with names, and really, frankly, especially for those of you guys who have content, you have IP, you have things that you haven't protected yet, you haven't done your due diligence, I don't want you to lose those. Francesca doesn't want you to lose those. And so if you have questions about this, I highly recommend that you hit Francesca up for an IP audit. Again, she can be found at the Trademark Attorney on Instagram. And she will, of course, be back here on the SweetLife Entrepreneur podcast again as well. And we're going to be diving into copywriting next time, which I know so many of our listeners have questions about protecting, like what actually is that? And so I'm excited to talk about that the next time that you are on the show. Thank you so much for being here and for all of your wisdom and pouring into our listeners.
Thank you, April. Thanks, everyone.